What is up, podcast community? My name is Cam King. This is Three Questions Podcast, episode number 54. Today, I have my new good friend, Ali El Namaani from Atlanta, Georgia. Ali works for a company. He's starting a new company, founder of a company called Allgram. We're going to talk all about that and his extremely interesting background as well. Ali, welcome to the show. How you doing today, man?
Good. Thanks for having me, Cam.
No worries. My pleasure. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about Allgram, and then I'll get into more Three Questions podcast type stuff.
Sure. So Allgram is a peer-to-peer communication application that essentially combines all aspects of your life into one application. You'll see a lot of these applications out there. A lot of them are centralized. Most of them, actually, all of them are centralized. What we're trying to achieve here is decentralization of all of the data when it comes to communication, when it comes to money transfers and transactions, when it comes to storing data. So essentially, decentralization is the next era, has a huge impact on the environment, and we hope that we achieve the impossible doing this.
So I love having founders of new companies on the podcast, people doing really, really cool work and excelling in their career fields. Mostly this has been a marketing, advertising, sales, new business a little bit. And a lot of the questions from my clients that have submitted, more personal things on not jerking off or how to deal with emotions. And I love studying that stuff and talking about anatomy and physiology. Today, we're going to be mostly talking about cybersecurity. You dropped a lot of terms that I'm completely unfamiliar with. So people listening on Spotify, or if you're watching on YouTube, I'm very new to this game as well. So I'm going to need you to dumb it down a little bit for me in particular. But I would love to know if you're sort of ready to jump into the three questions, or if there was other things that you wanted to sort of hash out before we begin.
Yeah, let's begin. I think we'll answer a lot of these questions through the questions.
Cool. Again, so how Three Questions podcast works for everybody listening, if this is your first episode, I will ask you a question. You'll have 5 minutes to answer. I'll just signal 4 minutes when you're getting close. You don't have to fill up all 5 minutes. We can make it conversational as well, but try to give the people listening and the viewers something to take away from. So whether you're talking about your experience or something that you learned, give them a tangible bite of something that they can take away from in the fields of cybersecurity, or finding a side company or a startup, or just life experience in general. So that's all I have for you. If you're ready, I'll just set my watch and we can begin. You good to go?
Go ahead.
All right, cool. So question number one, super simple and straightforward. Tell us all about Allgram and what your main objectives are for bringing such a solution to the market.
Sure. So I've been in the technology and cybersecurity market for 15 years now. And it's clear that those two domains are closely interconnected. As technology advances, so do the threats and the cyber risks. In this stage, communication is vital for either being connected with friends and family or for work reasons. We rely on technology heavily to stay connected with each other. Social media is a part of our lives today, and a part of it expressing ourselves. Unfortunately, all of these mechanisms to achieve communication or social connections are insecure and vulnerable. And that's due to the centralization of data. And that's by design, right? Data today is more expensive than ever. And selling people's data has become essentially the norm. Let me ask you a question, Cam. How many times have you Googled a product or a service to learn about it, or even just talked about it while your phone is just laying there next to you, and suddenly an advertisement about the product or the service starts popping up on every application, including your Chrome browser, your Instagram, Facebook, and so on, or even YouTube, or any social media? How would you has that happened to you before?
Yeah, I fucking hate that. It happens to me all the time. Right.
So it happens, yeah, it happens
It's
all the
awful.
time, and even more frequently now. So WhatsApp shares your metadata with Facebook and Instagram to enhance these targeted advertisements. We call them targeted advertisements that you receive on those platforms. You've got Signal and Telegram. They talk a lot about security. Well, they have data centers with centralized servers. And even though they truly commit to the end-to-end encryption mechanism, they do hold your encryption keys, which means if and when they decide to access your data, they can do so anytime. That's all from a privacy and security perspective. When it comes to the environmental perspective, the more users you have on your platform, the more these users obviously interact, the more they exchange images, videos, or links, and the more they post things, right? The larger the capacity of these servers need to be, because you've got this tremendous amount of data that you need to host due to the centralization of the platforms. This is where you would see data centers increasing in their size, ultimately even requiring their own generation facilities in some cases. So this essentially tremendously increases the carbon footprint from both requiring a tremendous amount of energy to run these data centers, but also from the size of the facility itself that's required to run these huge amounts of servers. Now, having said all that, we're bringing a unique application to the market that directly solves these two major issues, solving the privacy and security issues that people are desperately needing, but also directly impacting sustainability. So at a high level, we essentially leverage peer-to-peer communication, which is phone-to-phone or computer-to-computer technology with the decentralization matrix. So you don't have these central servers to host this massive amount of data, which allows us to leverage the client's devices themselves to host and run all aspects of the applications. The data and communication is encrypted. However, the users now get to generate and save their encryption keys. So you'll have a lot of these applications say end-to-end encryption, but who has my keys, my access to my data? And it's essentially the organizations that develop the platform. They have access to these keys. So that's number one. Number two, we were able to crack the code on the digital ID functionality, leveraging the blockchain itself for additional security to host personal identification data. This essentially enables the users to validate themselves in order to either show others that they are communicating with who they say they are. If somebody takes your phone, or somebody hacks your phone and gets into your numbers, and they're able to validate that, say that they're you, with this digital ID technology, you could truly validate this person I'm speaking with is who they say they are. Or if they want to transact, send and receive money through the application. And then finally, on the sustainability side, we don't need data centers to host our application, regardless of the amount of users that we get. This is purely because of the decentralized approach matrix that we have. So really exciting stuff that we're working on here, Ken.
I mean, it's fascinating. Like, you just gave me the heebie-jeebies about where my personal data goes, and I have no fucking idea, right? My phone's sitting here listening to me talk about all sorts of nonsense. So I'm glad that somebody is concerned about this, because more people definitely should be concerned about where their data is going and who's it going to and how it's being used. Eventually, all of that is going to be, I fear, potentially used against us. It's already being used to manipulate us, to buy stuff, to make us think about certain things. We see that with social media. It's so hard to differentiate what's true and what's false and who's right and who's wrong, right? Today I saw a clip on Instagram. It grossed me out. It was Joe Rogan saying some hellacious stuff, and I could tell it was AI, but it was still pretty good. All right. So now people's, even celebrities' voices are sort of being used to sort of curtail us, and all this data is just, what the potential for that is terrifying. That's all I'm going to say about it. I can't speak enough about it. You obviously are clearly more educated in this arena than I will ever be. So let's hop into question number two. And that is straight up that innovation often comes with challenges. What are some of the key obstacles or hurdles that Allgram has encountered, and how have you addressed these specific challenges?
Yeah, so we're a cross-platform application. Cross-platform means You develop once, and it's available for iOS, Android, Google, and a desktop application with peer-to-peer connections, which means directly phone to phone, computer to computer, distributed data storage. So if you're storing your data, it's not going to a central server like it usually is. There's a matrix of nodes where your data is dissected, encrypted, and it's just spread out across so many different nodes. We leverage the blockchain with neural networks on the device level itself, since we have no server involved in the storage. And on top of it all, we have a very complex triple encryption mechanism that allows users themselves to generate and save their encryption keys. So many challenges, as you can see, across every aspect of the application. You'll see many applications today would come out and say, hey, we're peer-to-peer, but they could only do potentially small doses of messages. We're a communication tool, right? Messaging, social media, calls, all of the above. So some are actually related to, and some other challenges are also related to user errors, right? It's very easy for us to just develop a platform such as WhatsApp or Signal, where we automate the encryption generation mechanism and we just save it to our cloud and be done. However, we wanted the end user to hold the power and the access to their keys and their data. That's what really differentiates us from others out there. We've been through many challenges on the technical side, as mentioned here, and on the usability side from a user utilizing the app as well. But we're really trailblazing through all of it. Obviously, we will have the opportunity to open this platform out to the public. Essentially, the first 1,000 users will be grandfathered in, and allowing some intensive testing of the platform before we fully release it globally. But there's quite a bit of challenges that we go through every day. We have a phenomenal team, some of the smartest people on earth really working on the platform. We also want to empower developers to custom create and upload unique backgrounds, emojis, stickers. A lot of people love to interact. They love to have unique things in their applications when they're sending messages or communicating on social media, and also have the ability to sell those right through a marketplace, which also will seamlessly be integrated into the application. So we've got so many moving parts here, and in addition to ensuring that our core values of the security and privacy and sustainability are all in one place.
So my big question for you is, why isn't there anybody that's done this before?
So that's a really, really heavy question. I think we've had people who have tried. Obviously, the knowledge itself, building the right team and having these different aspects of the teams together. Let me answer this differently. You've got the Googles and the giants of the world, the Facebooks and so on. Essentially, they're not going to go and create a whole new tool from scratch, right? They've got their user base. They've got billions of users. Now, it's almost impossible for them to go back and redevelop this tool differently, right? Their entire business models are built on how do we make more money, and it's leveraging people's data, right? This is how they make their money. The more Facebook, if you're on Facebook, the advertisements, you click on one, they make money. When they sell things through their marketplace, they're making money. So how do they leverage? How can they leverage? Their data is money, right? So it's not their advantage, first of all, to create something like that. But when the need is there, and people like you and I who care so much about our privacy and security, when I'm speaking with my wife, when I'm speaking with my friends, and not knowing that a picture that I sent to my friend is hosted somewhere on a server that could be compromised, and these things are important to a lot of people. And I feel that a lot of these aspects have not been thought through yet. That's one aspect. Another one was what I mentioned about, hey, if we're not using people's data, then how are we making money? But there are so many other ways and business models that we're working on developing for generating revenue to not just our people, but also to our investors.
I love that. I think that's a good answer. Again, keeping it high level and for my simpleton brain in terms of this niche of business. Let's hop to question number 3. Okay. And I was kind of wondering this myself. You laid it on it before the call and earlier on in the call, but why is this important to the general public? Like, why should people care about what the potential of Allgram is? Why should people care? Who cares?
Yeah. So I would again just reiterate a little bit my initial point regarding privacy and security. We live in a digital age, right, where communication is an essential part of our lives. There are consequences when messages are compromised. If you're talking about the medical industry, for example, if a doctor's message is compromised and altered, it could be life-threatening, right? People want advertisement-free social media that doesn't invade their privacy, and what families discuss at home, as I mentioned earlier. Allgram isn't about just connecting people. It's about ensuring that every conversation, picture shared, video or call made is private and secure. So uh, that's one aspect. The other aspect is the digital ID perspective, right? So a lot of countries around the world are starting to integrate the digital identity. Nobody's carrying a wallet with their picture IDs in some of these countries anymore. Everybody carries a phone. You can make a payment through your phone. Why can't my ID also be on my phone? So the challenge with that is that there hasn't been an organization that has cracked the code on securing the data for the digital identity. And we feel like we're on track to certainly achieving that through our blockchain hosting capabilities and our matrix approach for security. So yeah, lots of exciting things. It's if you care about your privacy, if you care about the security of your information, if you're a business sharing IP, communicating about certain topics within your organization, you certainly want to have a decentralized approach where if somebody compromises that central server or central communication point, they don't get access to your data. They would get some sort of encrypted piecemeal access that they can't make a reason from. So this is what I would say.
I totally agree with you. I feel like most people don't really give a shit about this stuff until it happens to them, where their identity gets taken, right? Or somebody logged into their Instagram account and they're like, what the fuck, right? Nobody wants somebody reading their DMs or going through that stuff. So I think what you're doing is very important. Also, another really good point that you brought up, everyone does want ad-free social media. And if you're as old as I am, you remember when social media first came out and there was no advertisements. And those were a great number of years. I still remember the original Instagram logo that very few people listening to this probably will, but Instagram used to be time blocked. Like it was based upon, the latest post. It wasn't algorithm based at that time. That word wasn't even invented yet, I'm pretty sure. And it was just about who posted and what time, and then you could go back minutes, hours, days, whatever. And those were the good old days. I didn't realize it back then, but those were the good old days. You just put whatever you thought up there and you didn't think that it would be on the internet forever. And here we are in 2023, more like 1984 than I ever thought. But where do you see the world going, right? Like real quick, high level with this, you said digital IDs. Do you see this being implants for people? Do you see it being a cashless society? Do you see this social credit system? Like, let's kind of get a little conspiracy theory here. I'd love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, the implant perspective, I think that's I feel that's a little overboard. I mean, I don't want to implant anything, honestly. Um, yeah, I feel bad when animals get the implants, let alone humans. I feel that yes, we live in a digital world, right? Everything is becoming very, very digitized. These digital glasses might be, if they're convenient, if they're easy to wear and they don't cause um, any issues for people who wear glasses, those might be the next steps. The lenses are also a bit too much, but honestly, everybody's got a phone. The next immediate 5 to 10 years from now is that we're going to integrate all of your aspects of your life into your phone. Essentially, your ID, your passport is just your identity is validated through your phone, and it's secured through your phone, and it's not sitting in a centralized server somewhere that could potentially be compromised through whether it's nation state or non-nation state, just to get people's data. The world needs to be a lot more secure. Communication needs to be secure, and your identities need to be a lot more secure, especially if you're traveling and or driving around.
Yeah, I really appreciate people like you in the world who are working on this sort of thing, because there's a whole lot more of them that want to steal and take and do all this. The amount of times I was in Italy and I've had my, debit card or credit card number stolen and a bunch of money ripped out. I really appreciate and I'm grateful for people like you who have these innovative ideas and have these passions and want to bring this sort of stuff to the world. And I think more people need to hear about it and understand it, for more people to care about it and also get into this, because it's a very selfless endeavor, right? Obviously you want to be the change that you wish to see in the world. Thus you've created this, and I wish you the utmost success in your future endeavors. I'd love to have you on in a couple months after things sort of take off. Feel free to come back in, listen to any episodes, submit questions if you have obviously marketing and advertising questions. That tends to be more of my neck of the woods. I love that stuff, but about my background from our previous conversations. But Ali, anything else you'd like to say before we part ways?
Oh, thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, the more the merrier. It's very informal, as you can tell, but I hope this really impacts somebody out there. If you have key takeaways, obviously send your little bio to me where people can reach out to you, connect with you. I'll eventually be putting this out on all the 3 Questions Podcast channels. If you want to submit questions to 3 Questions Podcast, it is just 3questionspodcast@gmail.com. I think on Instagram it's _3 Questions Podcast, and I just started TikTok for this as well. Maybe that's _3 Questions Podcast, or just @3 Questions Podcast. But obviously you can find it on LinkedIn, you can find it on Facebook. There's pages for both of those, and then it has a separate YouTube channel, so just search 3 Questions Podcast. This is not the Andy Richter one. I guess Conan O'Brien also has a 3 Questions Podcast. I started this before I even knew about it. I did 0 brand research, so bad on me, but it's turning out pretty well, so maybe we'll get them on the podcast at some point too, eh? Ali, I really appreciate you. This has been episode 54 of TQP, and I will see you guys in the next one.